should have went to Tim Hortons.
Hi.
Chocolate is a little.
We're live.
Can you guys see us?
We're live.
Hi. Anybody there?
No.
Yeah? Nobody's there. It's okay, though. Hey, Trevor's here. Hi,
Hey,
Trevor.
Trevor.
Hey, Jesse's here. Does this look any better, you guys? Can you hear everything okay? Jesse, Trevor, Liam? Audio good?
Bunch of penises.
No answer? Hi. How's that sound, Liam? Can you hear it okay? Nobody's responding.
Can you guys see my
Okay.
right? Can you guys see my right nut? Okay.
I hope so. I can see it okay.
I can see it just fine.
Everybody can see them.
Yeah.
The older I get, they're fucking be hanging out of my pant leg pretty soon.
Well, at least it's winter, so now they're going to be high and tight.
Oh.
Yeah, Jesse, audio
You get
sounds
old,
good.
dude.
Okay, cool.
Your
Cool.
nuts don't discriminate once you pass 40, man. They just drag all the time.
They're just there.
Yeah, we're getting a little bit of doubling there, I think. But
I forgot we're live.
Let's repeat that nut joke.
yeah. All right. So it's episode 100 of Real Crime. I'm going to start the audio, I guess.
Let's roll it.
You guys ready?
Yay!
Yeah. All right. Let's see how this goes with all the problems we had today. It is. It's really quiet.
That's all right, though.
You're listening to Real Crime, the Movie Sleuth podcast.
Now this is our, what would you call it? Our 100th episode. Okay, fine. We'll just call it our 100th episode.
Yeah.
And you have to talk over the damn liner music again.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even anything cool. It wasn't
No.
anything funny. It was like technical crap in the background.
Yeah.
Right. And you got me going in on it.
We're worse than Fox 2 now. This is
Oh.
terrible.
There's nothing worse than that.
We are
Nothing
really
worse than that.
excited, man.
Yes.
This
I'm pumped.
Chris has really done. I know you've been breaking your back all day, Chris, to put us on video, which for better or for worse, it's working. I think. Are people seeing us?
Yeah. I guess there's a couple audio issues. There's a little bit of like doubling going on with it.
Doubling.
Yeah, but
How are
we're
we
just gonna roll with it. I have
Like an
no
echo?
clue.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is that camera
Okay.
picking up? Is there a mic on that camera?
but that's off. So
Are you
we're
sure?
just gonna roll with it.
Okay. All
All
right.
right.
I mean, for
Well.
now, it is what it is.
Well, welcome to Real Crime, and this is our 100th episode. We are officially 100 years old.
Hip,
Uh,
hip, hooray.
I feel like and I feel 100.
You
I know.
feel-
I feel 100.
I felt
Yeah.
100 at 22.
Yeah. A lot of fun going on tonight. We have a very interesting subject. And I guess, we're going to be kind of streamlining this episode too in celebration of this episode. Honestly, I just kind of got thrown into the seat tonight and I was told that we're not doing this. We're not doing that. We're only doing this. So Chris, you take the lead here. I don't know what's going on.
Well, I just think it's our 100th episode, so it's a little bit different. It's not our normal thing, so I just
Yeah.
figured let's get rid of the news. We can do our suggested viewings if we want.
Sure.
I think that's cool.
Yeah.
I mean,
Sure.
yeah. Well, welcome
Why not?
guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Welcome,
Chris.
welcome.
Thanks for watching.
I mean, 100
I'm glad
episodes.
we're back on the live feed.
Yeah, no
It's fun.
kidding. We should say 100 episodes, and I know I'm the one that always says I don't listen to our show ever, especially, really the ones I'm on, but I do watch. I do keep an eye on things myself, and I do see a lot of people listening to our show.
Mhm.
So I can honestly say from all of us here at Real Crime and the Movie Sleuth, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you
thanks.
so much. Thank you for supporting what we do. And, this is a fun thing for us to do, but we do hope that this does help people, navigate their way through the seas of film and entertainment itself. I mean, there's a lot of people you can probably listen to, and you come down here and you come here and listen to us talk out of this basement. That's really cool. And we super appreciate that. So thank you very much.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. So it was an interesting day today.
What happened?
Well, today was very long with work, and then I came home and tried getting all this stuff set up to do the live stream again. Got it all set up, and as soon as I got it all set up, like I said earlier, the computer that we actually run the podcast on totally crashed on me.
Just died.
Dude, yeah,
It
it was
died.
bad.
We have the best luck.
Yeah. Today was just not a good day. So we're just rolling with what we got here.
Yeah. Everything sounds good. I mean, at least for us, it sounds good. Hopefully, it
Yeah.
sounds good for you
Yeah,
guys.
I've got a little bit of doubling in mind too. It's to do with whatever whatever happened with the computer today. So
We'll
hopefully
figure
for
it-
next week we'll get it fixed.
Chris will figure it out. I was gonna say Will. No, Chris will figure it out.
Chris will figure
We
it
ain't
out.
gonna do jack shit.
Yeah, we're not
Yeah,
gonna do that. I'm gonna
We're
be
just
at
gonna
home.
show up next week.
Yep.
Like, did you fix it?
No,
Fucker.
fucker,
Yeah.
I fixed it.
So suggested.
really.
I mean, we're just gonna get into suggested viewing.
Yeah, I already know what mine is.
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah,
All right.
We
Well,
probably
you
have the
start.
same
Chris.
one.
yeah. I mean, for me, I'm gonna suggest the new Halloween.
Oh,
I haven't
It was-
seen it. I'm gonna see it. I've been fucking buried for you.
It was really fun. It was really, really fun. I don't think it did everything that everybody wanted it to do, but I thought it was really a really cool compliment to the original.
Mhm.
I watched the original and a couple others this past week. I watched the first one right before, like the night before seeing the new one, and they fit together. Like as puzzle pieces, they work really well.
Huh.
So,
So they took the time to do that. I mean,
oh yeah, they
so
took
threw
plenty of
together
time to
and
do that.
Put the Halloween name on it and said, "This will sell." We don't
Yeah,
care.
yeah.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. So
Yeah.
I am gonna see it.
And there, nobody else has seen it yet.
No, I haven't seen it.
The kills in this movie are fucking brutal, and the body count is like through the roof.
sweet.
That's what I,
I
like
think-
to hear.
What's that?
That's what I like to hear about
I
Halloween
think
movies.
Trevor counted. I think it was like 18 kills in this
Dang.
movie. I mean, he is just like, I'm gonna fuck some people up. So Michael Myers is back, and obviously they've already said, oh yeah, we're already working on sequels for this.
Right.
So
Well, it's got a built-in audience. Why not? They know
Yeah.
they got a hit on their hands.
yeah. So I'm gonna suggest a new Halloween. It made like $77 million its
Dang.
opening weekend
Yeah, it was.
on $10 million budget. So
Was it
Wow,
$10
that's
million?
Yeah.
Wow.
yeah.
That's all they made it for.
Yeah, it was $10 million total.
Wow.
I don't think that includes marketing,
Yeah.
but hey, that's a pretty good take. for
Production
an opening
cost. Holy
weekend.
crap, man.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Trevor said 18. Yep.
18.
He counted.
18
So-
in life.
Shut up, Sebastian.
18 in life.
Oh, he was so fine when he was younger.
I don't know why I'm saying that. I hate that freaking band. I hate that man too. Michelle, your
Yeah.
turn.
I'm gonna suggest The Night Comes for Us,
Yeah.
which is a Netflix film. It's basically like one of the guys that works with Gareth Evans that made The Raid. It's Indonesian action flick. It could almost be The Raid 3, not like thematically like it's connected, but just like the way it feels, like all the fights and stuff. The story isn't as good as the Raid movies, but the fight scenes are fucking so brutal. It's like, imagine the fights in the Raid, but with like horror movie level gore.
Ooh.
Like like people like getting their stomach stabbed and their guts coming out, and like
Oh, God.
fingers getting chopped off, arms getting chopped off. Like
Sweet.
it's like the goriest fight scenes I've seen in a really long time. So
And now everybody in video land, you can see how excited Michelle's getting too. Look at her eyes
when
just
she
light up.
talks about it, she's like,
She's
oh,
so happy
guts.
right now.
but yeah, like they'll go into it expecting like the Raid,
Raid,
because it's
yeah.
not as good as that movie.
There's
but
a few of the dudes from the raid. In
Yeah.
it. I saw
the main
that-
dude from the Raid.
Yeah, yeah, the first
Um,
raid.
Yeah. Well, he's in both of them. He's in Raid 1 and 2. It's the same guy, like the main guy from the Raid
Mhm.
is
Oh,
in it.
what's his name again?
I don't remember
God.
his name. I can
The
never remember.
shorter one, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Because the taller one, the cop, is in the first raid, but I don't remember him from the second raid.
No, yeah, he's in the second Raid too.
Jesus, I don't know. It's been a while since I've seen.
Well,
that,
the
so-
guy from the Raid's in it, but he's
Yeah,
not
that's
in it
cool.
as much as I would have liked. There's actually a different dude that's the protagonist, and he's badass too, though. Like he's kicking
Mhm.
some ass.
Mhm.
So it's on Netflix, so it's easy to watch.
Yeah, that's
too.
cool. I saw it. I added it as soon as you said that it was on Netflix. I was like,
I
ooh,
was
I'm
like,
gonna
ooh.
watch that. Hell yeah, I'm down for
Took care of that problem.
some sweet action.
Sorry, we're getting beat up. What the fuck was that, Chris?
It was a furnace.
Oh,
Oh, you started off with your high-tech
Yeah.
phone there?
Yes, yes.
Oh,
Good for you.
fancy.
Yeah, like a fancy phone. you got.
Yeah.
The
When
night
technology
comes for
works,
us.
it's great.
His family, we're gonna go upstairs after the podcast, and they're gonna be like in blankets and sweaters and
They're
shit.
gonna be like Jack Nicholson at the end of The Shining.
Dad, what happened to the heat? We had a
Oh my God.
podcast. Turn it off.
So cool.
I'm
H,
cold. What?
your turn.
Oh, right. Okay. I'm actually going to suggest the new Netflix series, Haunting of Hill House.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amber's been watching that. She loves
we
it.
finally finished it, Jesse and I, and it was really good. There's some really good writing in that show.
Yeah.
Really good writing. There's one complaint I have, but I can't really talk about it because it has to do with the ending. But other than that, like it's genuinely creepy as shit. There's some really creepy stuff in it. Like my inner black woman was coming out. I was like, not don't, I'm done. I'm out. Like I was all getting
But
super
you're
ghetto.
always a black woman.
I am. Actually.
Well, to me.
Oh, that's all right. I have one.
Oh, that's so sweet, Chris.
I have one deep down inside. Like I don't do it at the movies, but when I'm at home, I'm like, Anyway, so
Sunday I will see
I
this.
would like to say that what is his name? Henry, the lead,
I don't remember.
the boy from E.T. What is his name?
Oh, Henry Thomas.
Henry Thomas. Thank you. See, I was right. Henry. All right.
He's so good.
He's so good in it, and wow, he aged so well. Anyways, and Timothy Hutton is. I was not expecting to see him in this at all, and I completely forgot that there was a few people in it that I've recognized through just watching other movies. But everybody, even the children on that show, act like that's just a testament to the director.
Yeah.
Because they're so convincing, and maybe sometimes Luke, the boy who plays Luke, is a little fumbly, but I mean he's a kid. He's supposed to be playing this like 6-year-old kid.
Yeah.
But it's only 10 episodes, about an hour episode each, 52 minutes I think, something like that.
That's not bad.
But
But
it's
some of them are a
really-
little bit longer.
But it's completely captivating from start to finish. Each episode is just top notch. I highly suggest it. It
Yeah,
was not even for Halloween. It's just a really good story.
I had company in from Florida last week for the entire week, and Amber and my buddy who came in banged through that whole thing
Yeah, it's good.
while he was here, and they both said they really enjoyed it. They really liked it a lot.
There was one thing, but
Yeah.
it did not take away from the rest of the show whatsoever. And I knew it was going to happen this way, but it's awesome. It's really good. Cuddle up in your blanket, drink hot cocoa or hot cider, kind of perfect fall show to watch.
Cool.
Great. It's great.
I guess I'll stay on the Netflix tip here. I banged.
Sponsored by Netflix.
Sponsored by. I got
I
literally
wish.
about an hour and a half before I headed here this evening. I finished the last episode of Making a Murderer season 2.
Oh, they came
Yeah.
out with a new season.
Yeah, it came out this past weekend, I think, something like that.
Yeah, it was. It was
Yeah.
this weekend.
So I hit it on Sunday, and I banged through over the last couple of days, and immensely interesting stuff. And it's tough. I mean, I have my opinions. We don't need to discuss them here concerning the innocence or guilt of Stephen Avery and Brendan, whatever his last name
The
was.
boy.
Yeah, the boy. There's just it's
The boy.
he's just a boy.
You're a boy.
He's just a boy. So I mean, but this season goes into and of course they said it. I mean, this is the only thing I'll say there'll be another season. Let's put it this way.
Oh, it's the same story?
Yeah,
Wow.
and it's just more shit. I mean, this literally runs up. I want to keep it as vanilla as possible here, but the filming literally. I mean, the last episode they were filming in May of this year.
Oh, shit.
I mean, like this was stuff happening this year.
Oh, I
So,
didn't realize it was that recent.
This is very, very active still.
Because this murder happened in like the 90s, didn't it?
2001.
Oh, really?
Well,
I thought
the
it was
guy
the late
got-
90s.
He got locked up for 18 years for one thing, for
Yeah,
rape, and then they
yeah.
overturned that after 18 years. He got out, and I mean, I don't know the timeline. There's just so much to try to digest
Yeah.
of this thing. He was out for a while, and then
Got in
he
trouble
got
again.
in trouble again, a murder and rape of another woman, and he's been in jail ever since then. I do believe, I think 13 years. 13
Yeah.
years he's been in jail, or 14. So
Since the second
so it could- yeah, so-
accusation.
yeah, so that couldn't have been 2001.
I thought it was like,
2005, something like that.
wow.
So, and this is just going, it's just lawyering, man. The lawyers are just
yeah.
investigating and researching. So this is just a lot of backtracking, and I just want to leave it at that. It's
Yeah.
if you're a true crime
Mhm.
guy like me, and there's a reason this is so popular and why people are really into it, because it's a really interesting docu-series. So yeah, I mean, for good
Right.
watching, if you're into that sort of thing, I highly recommend that. It's worth its weight. And it's only those episodes. I like long stuff, but I also am big on, I say it a lot here on the show, is stuff that isn't a big investment of time.
Yeah.
I like half an hour, 45-minute type thing. Sometimes there's a quick view of something that you can learn something from. This is like 9 or 10 episodes, I forgot, and they're all around 45, 50 minutes each. So you can crank through this relatively fast.
like a typical show.
Yeah, super
That's
cool.
cool.
So yeah, definitely Making a Murderer. Yeah, I enjoyed it, and yeah, it's out now. You can watch it on the Big N.
The Big N.
The big
N.
N. Michelle, are you sleeping?
No,
Oh, okay.
I haven't seen Making a Murder, so I can't add anything to it.
The first season is actually it's really captivating.
I'm so behind on TV shows. I've seen
Me
like
too.
nothing. So.
Me
Oh
too.
shit! And this is just one of those ones that was like the hype got to me. I said, well, I better watch the last one, the original one from like 2016, 15, something like that.
Mhm.
I was when it came out, or at least when I watched it, I happened to be on Christmas vacation.
Yeah.
So I was just sitting around the house cooking stew all day long, watching this crap. So it was easy to get through that. This one I just kind of watched it in between all my activities throughout the day. So yeah, I would say check that out. It's very cool. So we're moving right into the content today.
Yeah.
As Chris said, we're not going to fuck around here. We're just going to get right to it. What are we talking about tonight, Chris?
We're talking about Hereditary.
Ooh.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Who brought their chocolate?
Ugh.
With peanuts.
Oh my God.
Peanuts.
When
We
she's-
should also point out that if you haven't seen Hereditary, there's
Oh,
going to
yeah.
be massive spoilers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we're
Thank you,
gonna.
Michelle.
Whenever we should probably do that. Whenever we announce that we're gonna solely talk about one movie, that this is going to be a spoiler. That like when you share it and stuff like that. Spoilers. Sorry,
Yeah,
guys.
yeah.
Don't-
When we did the
Stop right
Mandy
here.
one, I shared it. I said, "Hey, your spoilers."
Yeah.
Just so people know.
Stop right here.
Yeah.
You've been warned.
Get out.
Get out.
Get out
Oh,
now.
I,
Well, it's still
I
safe.
brought chocolate.
We're not talking about Get Out, are we?
No,
I mean,
we're
we
trying-
can.
I mean, we can too. That would be a great podcast
It'd
as
be
well.
Yeah.
It'd be like a M. Night Shyamalan twist.
Yeah.
We're actually talking about Get Out. Fuck you.
Yeah.
So, all right, Hereditary came out earlier this year, in March,
Yeah.
something like that.
And people are still talking about this movie.
Yeah.
Well, it just
Like-
got released on Blu-ray too, and
Yeah,
it's a little
yeah.
easy for people to watch. I
Um,
missed it.
I guess to launch this thing off, this was one of those ones. You know, it's tough for me to get out to the theater these days. I like going to the theater a lot, but it's just with time, it's really difficult working or I think it's going on. So for me to get to the theater and see a movie when it's just come out into the theater, I mean, it's something I really have to
Yeah.
be interested in, and I try to just get that. How my interest gets sparked, it's bizarre because it's just maybe something, maybe a little snippet or something I read somewhere. I try not to watch trailers. I try to totally go into this stuff cold. I did that with Annihilation, for example. I did that with The Shape of Water. I had no idea what I was walking into, but I was told by enough people, you know, credible people like
Yeah.
yourself in this room that said, go and watch that movie, you'll lose your mind, right?
Yeah.
Same thing happened with Mandy.
Yeah.
You know, Michelle, you were big and you're like, dude,
Oh, did you
You-
finally see it?
oh, hell yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
girl, we gotta talk about that.
Okay, girl.
afterwards.
Yeah. So, oh yeah, I saw it. I just saw it. That was, oh,
You talked about that like what was it 2 weeks ago?
no, I'm talking about you just went, you're like your inner black girl.
Oh, I did.
You,
Yes,
you
I
totally
told you.
did. I just saw it. It was beautiful.
I was like, oh, girl.
But that was one Michelle, whose opinion I take very seriously when she says to watch a film.
You shouldn't, but
No, well, I'm glad I did because you're like, dude, you need to see Mandy. You're out of your mind if you
Yeah.
don't see it. And I did, and I loved it. I went into this movie myself with the same thing. I was just totally not front loaded by anything. I just was told by enough people, go see this flick, you'll love it. So I did, and man, fucking Amber. Even when my fiance is like, wow, that was a really good movie. She's a hard sell on anything these days, and she was even like, we left there going, holy crap. So it's a pretty powerful film.
Yeah, that's a good word for it.
I did have a conversation with a friend of mine over the weekend who said, you know, I thought the movie was boring as all hell. It's a slow burn. I mean, we say that a lot here, and this truly is a slow burner. There's a lot of things I think that have to happen in this film for you, you know, for the reveal, I guess. I'm sure we'll get into all this shit.
Yeah.
Of what's happening here. So, I mean, I guess I want to start off by saying, this is such a fucking mean thing to say, but I have to say it. Did anybody think that Millie Shapiro looked like a potato, kind of?
A potato?
The who?
Millie
Charlie.
Shapiro.
I think Charlie looks like a plank face every
well,
time.
you know, the funny thing is, I've seen her outside of.
She's beautiful.
Yeah.
She's a
Yeah.
doll.
Right. Well, that's the power of Hollywood, you know.
I think they
Yeah.
did some makeup work on her because her head kind of has a
They definitely.
Well, she has dysplasia, so she's got a deformity.
Well,
you know, but-
didn't she have cleft lip also?
No, that's dysplasia. She doesn't
Oh.
have the roof of her mouth, is what dysplasia is. The kid from Stranger Things has that as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Which
it's
kid?
you like I can't remember his name. What was what with the curly hair?
Oh.
Austin.
So I'm a total piece of shit now
No,
for like
no,
making fun of a handicap.
No, it's you're only human.
Well,
No,
they.
I'm
I mean, they
a big
picked her
dude.
because she's
Yeah,
interesting
they
looking.
picked her because
Very interesting looking.
that's
I mean, that was a
it's
purposeful
very
thing. That,
specific for her role.
Yeah.
And-
But that's, I think, when you first get into this film, that little girl, Charlie, is the first thing you notice, and there's just something off.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I had to be a dick and point out that
No, that's
Physical-
well, I mean, it's on purpose. They
Yeah, of course,
purposely
they
did that.
purposely
she
did
looks, yeah, but she has a very specific look.
Yeah, like-
I don't know. It's just, she's a very unique looking person. I've never seen anybody who's looked like that before,
Mhm.
right? I mean, are we do we want to just play through this thing? Like, we
Yeah.
just want to point out, I mean, I don't know how we want to do this.
Oh.
You just start from the beginning of the
Sure.
There
video.
is so much going on in this
Four
movie.
score and 7 years ago, you see?
I mean, personally, for me, the first thing that I noticed was obviously the opening shot of the movie. You can't
Goes
tell
into the model.
it goes into the model, which turns into Peter's room.
Yeah.
You know, I thought that was absolutely brilliant. And then from the same thing with Annihilation, the very first like 5 minutes, like not even 5, like 30 seconds of the movie, I was like, oh, I'm in.
Well, yeah.
Same
and-
thing
What's
with
really
Hereditary.
interesting is they come back to the idea of having an establishing shot be a shot of a model.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And they do it like continuously through the movie,
Through the
world,
movie,
yeah, yeah.
where it's like reinforcing the idea that they don't have control over their actions, and there's like other outside forces in play that are moving them around like pieces in a dollhouse. Like that's
Yeah.
why that's like that.
And we learn that as we go along
Yeah.
this journey, that these people do not control their own destiny.
Right.
Let's just put it that way. Yeah, that opening shot was really interesting. I mean, yeah, it was captivating. It pulls you right in. Now, Gabriel Byrne, he was in The Usual Suspects,
Ooh.
Miller's Crossing.
He's a fabulous
I
actor.
lost
I
me
have a
hat.
giant crush on that
Uh,
man.
yeah,
Oh my
he's-
God.
He's pretty low key in this movie too.
He's
for
low
most of
key,
it.
but what I thought he was fucking phenomenal though.
Yeah.
Because this movie starts out and he's just you can tell he's a loving father. He's a doctor in this film. I mean, the property they live on is just, I'd die for a house like that.
He's,
It's so nice.
He was at one point Annie's therapist.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I didn't remember that.
It's in nerd alert. It's in the extras.
Oh,
I
okay.
watched all of the extras.
Just haven't watched the extras yet. Okay, so he was a doctor. We knew that. I thought his character, yeah, he was downplayed a bit in this film as far as his role. However, I just loved how you could tell, I guess my viewpoint on his character was he was a cool guy. He was a good father. He loved his family. He took care of business. He was a no bullshit kind of guy.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, just a great American father, I guess, right? And you don't, I guess it's a matter of the cursing that he does, because, there's the iconic scene, and we can bounce around a little bit. To me, the iconic scene, the dinner scene,
Mm-hmm.
where Annie just flips the fuck out finally, just loses her mind. I mean, you talk about fucking Academy Award level
Yeah.
acting.
Yeah.
I mean, that scene alone right there should have locked it in for her. And you see, that's a scene where you see him, he's not cursing in that scene, but you see him, he's keeping his calm.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, we're done now. We're
Yeah,
stopping
I'm
this right
putting
now.
a stop
We're
to
putting a
this right
stop to
now.
this.
That's
We're
it.
stopping. And if you watch at the end of that scene when Annie walks out of frame, he goes back to trying to eat,
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then he can't.
and he can't eat.
Well,
right?
because he's what's the glue that's keeping the
He's
family
trying to keep
together.
her. Yeah.
Because
Right.
everything's hysterical around him,
Mhm.
and he's the only person that's trying. He's basically the straight man, like trying to live a normal life despite all the weird
Well-
stuff that's going on, to the point almost where he's being myopic and like
Mhm.
not accepting that there's weird
Right,
shit
he's
going
in
on, even when it's
complete
right in front of his
denial. Well,
face.
Because he's a doctor, and I mean,
Yeah,
you're,
he's a
you just,
therapist,
you just,
he's a
he's a
psychiatrist.
therapist,
Yeah.
and we see that it's very obvious through the scene that he is looking at Annie, going, "Okay, she's going to need help."
Because he's a
Yeah.
skeptic too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
he's a
with-
total skeptic.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I love the way his character kind of plays out. Because towards the middle of the film, he, shut the fuck
Yeah, he starts
to
coming
unravel,
into it.
but he's still in control. Again, jumping to the attic scene when she's like, go up there, just go up there. You have to go up there and look. You have to see. And it's actually I kind of giggled the second time I watched it last night. She's in the fireplace room. He goes up the attic, and you hear him go, ah! He kind of freaks out. What the fuck is that?
Yeah.
So, I mean, to me, I mean, maybe it's just because I saw it that way. There was just a hair of comical. How would you say it?
Oh, I
a little
think
bit, a hair of levity. Like, what the? It's a serious film.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's definitely there's dark comedy in there for sure.
Yeah, oh yeah,
for
totally.
sure.
But I just loved Gabriel Byrne in this movie. I thought, I mean, to me, I mean, everybody in this movie was phenomenal, but for some reason, I was really drawn to his character because, yeah, I think it was that he was the glue trying to keep this family together.
From having a mental breakdown.
Doing everything he can to take care of his children and his wife. And yeah, he's coming apart just like his wife is too.
I think it's kind of interesting that he is trying. He's basically ignoring things though. Like, and I think that's a really good metaphor for when people have mental illness and then other people try to ignore it, or they themselves try to ignore it, even though there's like things happening that need addressing.
Yeah.
And the entire film is about things that are going unsaid that need to be said.
Right.
Like why they have that big blow up at the dinner table
yeah.
is because, Charlie unexpectedly dies and they like literally don't address it really as a family. Like they just never sit down and say, she's fucking dead. Let's talk about this. Like it's kind of shoved under the rug to maintain this false feeling of, being normal when it's not. So like all this time, like the kid, like the older kid, Peter is like he's like absolutely consumed with guilt. He's racked with it. He's
you can see it as soon as Andy blows up. He's like, oh, finally, this is what I need to hear. I need to hear you say how much you hate me right now. Even though it's not really what he wanted.
Yeah.
So
he needed to be paid attention to.
He needed to hear her explode because he himself needs to explode. So
everybody's basically using defense mechanisms, but all bad ones. Right. Like his wife's hysterical and is just like reacting to everything like just with complete, just too much emotion. And then he's like ignoring everything and the son's keeping stuff inside. So like everybody is like using these bad defense mechanisms to react to like this problem.
Well, let's take that. Let's go back to Charlie's death because
dude.
Now
when I watched this again the other night, it's still like threw me. I'm like,
it's very just violent and sudden.
Like bam, you're done.
There's a cut scene they cut in there, a shot where you see her face, you see the pole, and then the next scene it's like a red. I picked it out last night. I wanted to sit down again tonight and watch this movie. I just ran out of time. Because they actually show the separation.
Oh yeah, they do, man. Yeah. It's like a puff of red.
Yeah, it's not. But it's not like in grisly detail. It's enough to fuck you up.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's
also her hood. Her hood comes over.
Now I mean, a lot of people. I mean, I guess this is considered a horror film. I mean, and this movie does definitely have horror elements. I mean, this is to me very much a suspense, supernatural drama more than anything. With horror elements. I mean, everything mixes. It's all fluid. Going back to that scene, though, the way that played out, and the first time seeing this, you see Peter sitting there. The car stops. He knows exactly what's happened.
Yeah.
He sits there, and he says it twice. Okay.
Yeah. He's in shock.
Yeah,
he's in total shock. To the point where he drives home and just goes to bed. And I didn't pick this out when I saw it in the theater. When he walks in the house, you hear Annie say, "Oh, good, they're home now."
Mm-hmm. And he says, "Oh, good."
And that makes that even more and that's why they cut to the next scene of him just laying in bed. He hasn't slept a wink.
Nope.
Could you? Being in that kind of shock, I try to put myself in that place. Like being in that kind of shock, I don't think I would make a decision like that. I would be immediately on the phone going, this
That
sucks.
entire sequence is just so well done
Yeah.
between when she gets
It hurts.
her head cut off, and then after that happens, it's like there's no like music, no nothing.
No,
It's just
nothing.
quiet.
It's just everything.
And he comes home and he's
yeah.
laying in bed, and everybody. I remember we saw it at a press screening, and I remember it was like fucking dead silent. Like everybody was like,
yeah,
Jesus
yeah,
Christ,
there's like no
yeah.
score there at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
After-
nothing. All you hear are like crickets and like the gravel with the tires, and
The car pulling
that's
up.
one of my favorite scenes of the entire movie, just because of how straight Peter play, or that actor's, I can't remember his name now,
Peter. Well, the character.
The
Well, he
character
said, like, I read something with him this last week where he said he thinks he has PTSD
but
from
that
filming this
scene-
movie.
Oh yeah, probably. When
Really?
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
He also said he never introduced himself as his real name. He was Peter on the entire set until they wrapped the movie, and
Also,
then
he was method acting.
Oh,
yeah.
I was
So
gonna
then
say he's
he was,
method acting.
and the director was like, "All right, everybody has to rap for his name." And
Yeah.
I can't remember what's his name. I can't remember. I feel so bad.
Somebody
I
look
just
it up. You
watched
got this all
He's
this
in like
computer
that
shit in front of
Jumanji movie too, isn't he?
you.
Was he in that new Jumanji
No.
movie with
Oh
The
yeah, he
Rock?
was in Jumanji.
Like in the beginning.
And he's also
You
in
can see him doing that.
Patriots Day. He plays one of the bombers. He's really fucking good in that movie too.
So, yeah, I mean, laying in bed like that, we see that shot. It's still dead quiet. And you hear that whole thing play out.
Mhm.
You hear, okay, I'm going
Alex
to go out.
Wolf.
There we go. I knew that.
I'm going to go out and get something. I forgot what exactly it is. I'm going to go out and get something. I'll be back in 20.
Yeah.
You know, okay, be careful, baby. Love you. Blah, blah, blah. You know, and it's like, here it comes. Here it
Here it
comes.
Yeah,
comes.
you're sitting there to see like she's gonna find a body.
Here it comes. Could you only imagine being?
And then that whole entire sequence of her just wailing.
Well, she wails through like
go
the
through
funeral.
3 scenes. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
so awesome. What
Yeah.
a
Well, a lot of
Fucking
other
man.
cultures, when they have funerals and stuff, they wail and they rip their clothes and all
oh
that
yeah, and
stuff.
the
So
Korean funerals.
yeah,
That sounds kind of
No, I
hot.
just meant
it's
like
not.
the the choice of direction there. From
You know-
scene to scene, she does. It's like it's like a one entire sequence of her just crying her eyes out.
Yeah.
Just her crying doesn't like
There's
elevate
three-
or escalate, or
Yeah.
it's the same throughout the whole thing, and it's just different establishment.
There's three.
shots.
There's. You hear the wailing when she first discovers the body. You see her wailing
Yeah, in her bedroom.
in the cemetery,
Yeah.
or maybe I'm off of the sequence, and then you see her wailing in the bedroom.
It goes outside bedroom, and
And then the funeral?
and then the funeral.
Okay. Where her husband? How can I forget his name?
Stephen.
Stephen. Where
Hi,
he
Steve.
where he's trying to console her, and then the
Yeah.
camera cuts into the hallway.
Right, and
With
he's
Peter
standing there.
Peter's like, oh shit.
Yeah. Oh god.
You know, though, when I was watching this again the other day, I'm like watching these people. I'm like, they really don't even look like a family.
No,
they
they
really
don't.
They don't. They all look like so different from each
Yeah.
other.
But that's
Well, my
that's what's-
sister and I don't look alike. I don't think that.
You guys look similar
You
enough,
guys
though.
look. You guys
Yeah,
look
but
like
you know,
siblings.
but I was feeling like they were just kind of like, it's this mixed family, and I don't
Yeah.
know.
But those are her children.
But it bugs people though online. I hear that negative all the time. People are like, they don't even look like they're related. Too much. Why are they casting people
But I
that look
see. I
different?
think there's a specific reason.
Well,
for
yeah.
that, you know?
Well, I mean, yes.
I'm
but-
just saying in general. There's a reason why they don't all look the same, and you know.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
this planning that we're talking about here,
Yeah. Yeah.
because nothing in this movie happened on accident.
No. And it's interesting because there's like a lot of recurring themes. Like the first one we're even discussing, decapitation, as a thing
That's a
that
big
keeps
theme,
coming up.
huge theme.
Yeah.
Because she gets her head decapitated. In the beginning of in the film, that pigeon
Bird.
hits the window and she's
Pigeon,
cutting the heads
she
off.
got
And then
the-
you realize they explain it thematically, like why the head needs to be removed from the body. But
Mhm.
it's like it's a reoccurring thing. And the other thing I noticed when I watched it again was, when they do that quick smash cut to her decapitated head the next day, and it's covered
Fuck!
it's covered
Yeah.
in
Fuck!
Yeah.
Well, when it's covered in ants,
Yeah.
and he has that dream later, and his head's covered in ants. It's
Yeah.
like a kind of an echo, like of
Yep.
of like
Yeah.
that earlier.
Well,
like the echo we're having in the live stream right
Oh.
now. So
Well-
you're like, there's like reverb. I don't know why. It's weird.
We'll just pretend it's synthwave.
I know.
Yeah.
Get with it. It's
Get with it, folks.
2018.
God, you don't like reverb?
go to the Period show. I don't want to go to the dance show.
Stop
It sounds
singing.
So there are the ants. Okay, so there's a lot of recurring themes in the movie.
Mhm.
That's what makes this movie so cool. I was writing notes down and stuff like that. In particular, the symbol that we see through the film, right?
Yeah.
Which is the sigil of we hear it at the end.
Oh,
Payman,
yeah,
Payman, hail Payman, right? It's a sigil of Payman, one of the 8 kings of hell. This is all explained at the end. So,
Yeah.
you know, we see this if you watch when they're driving to the party. Peter and Charlie are driving to the party. They go right by that same pole.
Mm-hmm.
And that was another thing I picked out in the second viewing of the movie, right? We see it around grandmother's neck.
Yep.
Annie
Annie's
wears
wearing
it,
the same necklace.
also, right? Obviously we see it up in the attic too.
I didn't notice any of that stuff until I watched it a second time.
Yes.
And I also didn't notice that all the cult members are in the background of scenes.
Yes.
Just standing there all
Yes.
fucking creepy.
Dude,
Yeah.
they're there. They're all at the
They're-
funeral. All
Yeah.
of the people that are at her grandmother's funeral are at the end of the movie.
Well, yeah, well, and
This is one of the few movies where it really benefits from a second viewing. Like
Yeah.
I would say all movies, you know, if you really want to understand them, obviously you should watch them more than once. But this movie, like, literally does not even reveal itself entirely. I don't think until you watch it a second time.
no, you really it takes another viewing. I agree 100%.
there's a smash cut of the house. It's like it goes from daytime to nighttime, and as soon as you see that, you're not even looking at anything else. But every single person, there's people standing
Yeah.
outside. The naked people are standing outside. I was like, I seriously last night I was like, oh my god.
What's Smash?
It's right before Peter wakes up
Okay.
after he smashes his face in at
Oh, okay, yeah,
it
yeah.
goes
yeah.
from light to dark like that,
Yeah.
and it does like a no.
Well, okay. Here, I'm going to throw this one at you guys. I don't know if you guys noticed this one. I picked this one up when I watched it last night. There's a scene, this is early in the film,
Mm-hmm.
where Peter is in his bedroom and he's got his water bong and
Yeah.
he's lighting it up and he's going out the window, obviously to blow the smoke out the
Yeah.
window, right? He's got some
What an asshole.
Yeah, what an asshole. You
Don't
watch
hide it if
really
you're gonna
close.
smoke it.
I had to I rewound this a couple of times because you see him exhale,
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
and from the viewpoint of the camera, you see someone next to the camera exhale
Yeah.
because it was probably cold outside.
Yeah.
Right. I think it was
Somebody was
personally,
watching that fucking house.
I think it was Charlie.
It may have been Charlie or
Or
maybe
she
one of the
sleeps
naked
in
cult
that.
members
Ooh,
jerking off.
it
I don't know.
I mean, personally, I thought it was Charlie, but
It
it
could have
being
been
a
Charlie.
cult member is totally possible.
It
too.
likely could have been Charlie, but somebody. I thought that was just a cool, fucking subtle
Right,
thing.
because
You had to see it, man.
it mixes together perfectly too. Like he exhales and that person exhales,
Yeah,
and
was
you
really
watch
neat.
the smoke go away, and you can see the smoke, the
Just the breath, just the
going
exhale,
away as well.
which
The
at
movie
same
is so
time.
meticulously crafted.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
Oh, yeah,
seriously,
yeah.
that's why it's.
So
I'm
I was
still
arguing with
debating.
somebody the other day. They're like, the writing's lazy because they just say, well, you know, everything happens because somebody made it happen. I'm like, but you don't understand like how smart this fucking movie is about it.
Mhm.
Like, it's foreshadowed perfectly, and when you watch it again, it's not lazy. Like every single thing that happens is so intentional. Every shot is framed,
Yeah,
is blocked purposely, so you see
Yep.
certain things when you watch it the first time.
Lighting,
And then when you
everything.
watch it a second time and you're drifting away and looking in corners and stuff, you see other things.
Yep.
Because they know, you know, a good cinematographer knows where the eye goes, right?
Mhm.
When he's, you know, blocking his shot off. And it just like amazes me, like where I would look normally when I'm watching a movie. When I was watching a second time and I was being more, you know,
Yeah.
looking around, I was like, there's so much crazy shit in the corners and the background, and like,
There's even people in the house.
Oh my
They
God.
Don't even notice.
Oh my God.
There's fucking people there.
Those like people that just kind of like float in and out of space. That shit freaks me out.
yeah.
Like when she is in the room and just looks in the box room and stuff,
yeah.
and her mom is standing there. Like,
Well, yeah, she's in an apparition.
yeah, that creeps
Yeah,
me
well,
out.
like,
Hardcore.
My
well,
hands
going back to
just got
that
sweaty
the
from
second
that.
viewing point, that's why I said that, because you pick, you know, and we say that a lot, but really you need to watch this at least twice. I
Yeah,
think.
at least.
See that, and you know, I want to save that. When we get to the third act of this film,
Mm.
I want to talk about the other cool stuff, but
This was Ari Aster's
First movie!
This was his first movie.
His first movie's this good.
I know.
That like blows my mind.
I know. And Toni Collette and Gabriel Byrne were the executive producers on it.
no,
They
nope.
they gave him their money to make this movie because they believed in him so much when they read the script.
You said how smart the writing was in this movie. To reiterate the point of that, I can understand how someone would say, well, the writing is lazy, everything was just. But what I thought was super interesting was all these points start to meet. We start to see all these lines being drawn as the story progresses. What I really, we see it all as the viewer.
Mm-hmm.
Annie's trying to explain to Stephen, but she's trying to explain these things to Stephen, right? These are all very complicated plot lines that have been drawn. Or, let's just try to put ourselves in that position. We're discovering all this information. We're finding out that Joan, or that they were, this was all, it was a setup.
Yeah, it was
It was
total
a fucking setup, man. So there's scenes where she's trying to explain this to Stephen, right? And, well, she's frantic, first off.
Yeah.
That to me shows you how complicated the movie is, and B, no, it's not lazy, right? There's a lot going on here to culminate into what we see at the end of this movie, right? I think it's really easy to say it's lazy to say the movie's lazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think a lot of people just. I really, really hate saying somebody didn't get it. But I feel like a lot of people didn't understand what the movie was trying to do, and
right.
I totally get that because it's not made apparent until literally the last 5 minutes of the movie what was happening. It recontextualizes everything that came before it. But you just watched it, so obviously you're like, huh. So when you watch it the second time with what you know in mind, then you can tell the writing, you can tell oh, this is how they're setting this up. This is how this is being established. This is the theme they're trying to do.
But that's what a fucking payoff is.
But a lot of people don't watch movies to do that. They don't watch movies. They watch movies passively. They don't watch them actively. And there's nothing wrong with that. If you like to watch movies for entertainment purposes only, that's 100% fine. Some people don't watch movies like that. They watch them actively. I can't turn. Now I've been writing about movies for years. I can't turn that off when I watch it. Dave hates it because he'll just be don't fucking say nothing while we're watching this.
I think that somebody says that it's lazy writing, especially with this. I think that's a lazy critique.
Yes.
Because there's so much.
Yeah.
The movie is there's just so many textures to it.
Honestly, without even getting into the writing or anything like that, just on a technical standpoint, this movie's absolutely gorgeous. And like you were saying, the movie is meticulous. There is a reason for everything in this movie. Every single thing, every person, where they're sitting, standing, what they say, everything.
I did like I referred it to Blue Velvet from the cemetery when they do pull the shot back, which I thought was really cool. They pull the camera. The camera is already back. It was just sitting stationary, and it's Annie wailing.
Yeah.
And they just
go down,
into the ground. I thought that was so neat.
And then into the ceiling of the house, and the next shot is in the home.
Yeah. So there's just so much happening here. It's impossible to try to go point by point here and plot point by plot point here.
Yeah.
It's such a dense movie, and
even the name Hereditary,
right?
Just the title of the movie
says a lot.
If you speak about if you go with the idea that the family has no agency from the very beginning of the movie, which is also the definition of hereditary, you inherit these traits from your family genetically, right? That you cannot control. And one of these things that you inherit is mental illness, which actually has a physical manifestation in this film. It's not just actually is represented by Pyman, right? Pyman is represents that kind of thing. And
I think it's both, honestly. I think there's two different versions of the same movie. I don't know. This movie totally threw me through watching the third time around. I was like, wait a minute now.
I kind of felt like that watching it a second time.
You know?
Like I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I didn't like realize all this stuff. It's
So
like,
where the witch for me was more of on the mental,
Yes.
you know, of like a
Yes.
dramatization
Mhm.
of mental illness. I feel like Hereditary is both versions of that. I mean, I could be totally wrong about the witch too, but I mean, I personally felt that there was the actual DNA
Yeah.
and the biological aspect of it all, and then I also thought that there are some crazy fucking people out there
Yeah.
who believe in stuff like this and who take this very seriously. And this has been, and technically, Hereditary, it was Annie's mother who started this, and
Right.
she was Queen Lee, you know, because she gave birth to Paimon, is what they were saying, you
Yeah.
know? So, like, it's all.
Well, that's
It's-
kind of the point of the movie. I think is trying to say is that in a normal, you know, real life, it wouldn't be a demon. It would just be insanity.
Yeah, for
somebody's
sure.
crazy. But in this movie, it actually was
both.
something going on. Yeah.
Well, you see the I mean, you can let's just call them ghosts.
Mhm.
We see them. Charlie saw one go through her bedroom and out the window, which that's where she followed her. She went out to the woods.
Yeah.
And that's where she sees
Her
grandmother.
grandma sitting in a circle.
Fire. Fire.
fire.
We see the ghosts.
TP for my
Jesus Christ.
You have TP?
We
You
see
have
the
TP?
go. We see the
No,
ghost.
you have
We
TP.
see Paimon enter Peter's body.
Yes.
Paimon. I mean, I read up on this today a little bit while I was, just studying and trying to understand all this.
You and your studying.
We hear it at the end. I guess we can, we're getting out there now. We can probably get into the third act. Paimon inhabited Charlie's body initially, but Paimon, according to scripture, prefers to inhabit a male body.
Mhm.
Prefers,
So,
yeah.
so the idea was, oh well, we fucked up. We need to find a way to move Paimon from.
And that's why Charlie
Charlie.
was saying in the movie,
Yeah,
Grandma wanted a
wanted me to-
boy.
Yeah.
Grandma wanted me to be a
Grandma
boy.
wanted me to be a boy.
Yeah.
Exactly. This is explained again at the, like, as you said, like the last 5 minutes of the film.
Yep.
Yeah.
It is all like laid right out. But getting to the third act, we actually see Peter start to transform. See, that's where I'm a little confused though, because we see the spirit of Paimon
Mhm.
enter Peter's body after he jumps out of the attic window, and he I guess to his death. He lands in the garden face first and dies. There's a scene at school earlier that day, and where he actually is possessed, so to say. He looks in
I think it's a possession that's taking a while. I think when Paimon has to inhabit a body, obviously it's overriding the person that's in there. And I would also say that's another kind of metaphor for insanity. It feels like there's two people inside of you, right? Like there's this normal person you want to be, and then there's whatever
Yeah.
your brain chemistry is doing that makes you abnormal. And I think that it's just a slower. It takes him a while to get into the body, and maybe he can't be in there all the way while he's alive.
Yeah.
Maybe he can't.
He
completely
looks in
take
the
it
mirror
over.
and sees himself
Which is
smiling.
why
Yeah.
Joan shouts from across the street, I expel
I
you.
expel you.
I expel
Yes.
you, Peter, and then she tells Peter to get out because she's wanting Paimon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I think
But also,
Paimon can't take him
it's-
over completely at once.
Yeah.
It's because if you read in the beginning when Annie goes into the room and is looking through her mom's stuff and she sees
The letter.
the letter, right?
Yeah, the letter.
The book is called Notes of Spiritualism,
Mm-hmm.
or no, I'm sorry. Yes.
There's something on spiritualism. I know what you're talking about.
She opens it. Well, she opens that, and then she reads the letter, and it says the sacrifices.
Our sacrifices.
Our sacrifices pale next to the rewards, which is probably what it should be the other way around, right?
Well,
Technically
no,
speaking,
because technically, grandmother, she put her time in, sacrificed herself. Obviously, Annie sacrificed herself in spades. That's what she was referring. Then on Charlie,
Mm.
she didn't voluntarily sacrifice herself, but she
No.
was a sacrifice. She was a sacrifice because this was all planned.
Yeah, well, I was
Charlie's
saying
was just a temporary holding
Yeah,
Right.
spot for Paimon,
she was
right?
she was a part of the machine. Though.
They
Yeah.
don't
She was part
show the book that she's reading, the title of the book that she's reading later. It just has the symbol of Paimon
Yeah.
in it. And when she opens it, there's a highlighted section.
Yep.
And then there's actually another paragraph, and it describes what Pyman has to do in order to get to his official host.
Yeah, and it said in there it prefers a male body.
Right, it prefers the male body, but it also explains what's going on with Annie, because it says I was saying this yesterday because I saw it and I was able to pause it and I finally got to read it, but it said that the sex doesn't matter, but if it happens to be a woman, the woman will become livid and insane. Basically, is what happens.
Okay.
So
They
that's
also
what,
tricked her into summoning Pyman into the house.
Oh yeah, that's totally what happened with the seance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
they-
that,
like
that
they-
was all manipulation.
Like they made her when she thought she was contacting Charlie, she's obviously contacting Pyman.
Well, she was contacting Charlie as well, though,
Well,
because
yeah.
Charlie is Pyman.
Right, but like, you know,
you guys see how complicated this shit is?
Yeah.
I'm actually just enjoying listening to you guys because I thoroughly like doing the more in-depth podcast on
Yeah.
a single movie. I know we can't
too.
always do that, but
Well,
It's fun.
Here's the deal.
This movie royally messed me up. I was in a limbo for
and you were
days.
pretty fucked up before you watched it. So.
If you
There's
see,
that as well.
I was going to the scene in school the other day with Peter
Yeah.
when he starts
Pizza.
to do the clicking.
Hi, Steve.
He starts to do the clicking
Yeah.
in school,
Mhm.
and then he does this move where he kind of puts his arm up.
Oh yeah, he starts. That's Charlie.
That's Charlie.
It's Charlie because his face starts to get. He starts to have a stroke or whatever.
Well,
Yeah.
that, but
And
that's
it looks
also
like
the
Charlie.
that's also the
Maybe that's what Pyman does to his human host.
no,
Though.
that's
I
what
think
Pi-
so.
that's that's the stance that Pyman makes.
Yeah,
That's in
with the
scripture.
hand. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, supposedly in like, you know, the myth of Pyman, when he appears, there is a tinkling of bells. And then they were saying maybe that's what the clicking noise is. It's the noise when Pyman's.
And every time
Present.
Charlie's theme was a little jingle. Actually, now that I think about it, every
Oh,
time
really?
Charlie's
Oh,
on,
yeah.
every time Charlie's on the scene or on screen, there's like the light airiness of
Mhm.
bells and stuff.
Let's get to the third act.
That's cool.
We got to talk
Shit
about
hits
the
the
third.
fan.
Now seeing this in the theater full
Yeah.
on for me, this was just, and I want to know how you guys felt about it. You hear the term surreal a lot from people. Oh, it was fucking surreal. It was otherworldly. Oh my god, it was so wild. This movie, to me, truly defines surreal. When I say that the last act of this film felt surreal, I truly mean that from my core. I actually felt myself, sitting in the theater, just how the goddamn house was lit.
Mm.
Just how dark it was.
Oh,
Dark,
yeah.
but you could
Yeah.
still see. It truly took me somewhere else. That was just me. I don't know about
Did
you
you
guys.
When we
notice on
watched it,
your-
nobody made a sound while we were watching that movie. It was like dead fucking silent. Like when we were in the theater,
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
nobody made no noise.
Yeah,
no
because me and you
Yeah.
saw this together, right?
Yeah. Nobody was eating no popcorn, no nothing. Like it was like just people was like, holy
Did
shit.
you notice that your rental was extremely bright?
A little brighter.
It looks totally different on 4K.
It was a little brighter, I think.
was
I got
a little
I got
brighter.
the Blu-ray.
It was a lot
I've got
brighter.
the 4K.
Yeah,
It is a little brighter.
It's completely different. It looks
Yeah.
totally different.
But the reason I say that is when I watched it last night, it still felt the same.
Oh,
Even
yeah.
on my 50 whatever, not like I have my 55-inch TV that I have, it still felt I was still yanked in
Mm-hmm.
the way I was in the theater. Not now, of course, the theater is a whole different experience, but now that scene, this whole thing plays out, right? We can talk about the more extreme elements, Stephen burning.
Oh,
You know,
poor guy.
We see, and that's when Annie is possessed.
Mm-hmm.
We see her just become possessed in that scene. Peter, that's when the shit really hits the fan to me, is when Peter wakes up
Yeah.
and starts walking around the house. And that's, I mean, I can't remember the soundtrack to that, but it was barely anything. It had to have been just some bad. Anybody remember what the hell was being?
I think honestly, if
remember
there
all
was
this.
any sound, if there was any music
don't think there was
at
any
all, I don't
sounds.
think there was any music. No, I think it was just ambient noise. Just
Peter-
the sound of the
Yeah.
house and stuff.
Peter walks up through the house,
Down the stairs into the living room.
Yeah.
Now I got
down to see his father's burnt corpse.
Well, you didn't even wait. You totally skipped over. You totally skipped over the most important.
Well, go. Yeah, go. It's all getting foggy in here. Go ahead.
Peter wakes up, and you don't see anything until the light outside goes on, and then you see Annie in the fucking corner in his bedroom, up on the ceiling, holding herself up. And just as he
Oh!
Yeah.
She was in the bedroom?
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
girl!
Oh yeah.
Girl!
God. Oh my God!
Oh my God,
When
girl.
I remember that in the theater.
Dude,
I was
when
like,
that's-
Oh, wait, hang on. This is in his bedroom.
Yeah.
When he wakes up,
she's up in the corner the whole time.
She's up in the corner.
What the
whole
fuck? I
time.
didn't even see that.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
Oh, that creeps me out just thinking about it.
Oh,
Damn,
she's
girl.
there. You didn't. Oh, sorry. All right, here this. Dude, when I saw her up there, I was like, I literally started sweating because I was getting so upset.
I didn't even, unless I'm forgetting.
The light turns on outside. Peter looks out the window, and you see the camera go. The shot is of him looking out the window from the front, so you can see what's behind him. And she's up here in the corner, and you see.
Wait, are you talking about the living room?
No, right when he wakes up
bedroom.
in his bedroom, and then she
then she
silently
crawls-
drifts.
Yeah, and then she like quietly jogs out the room in
Wait,
the air.
I thought I was trying to remember.
Just as he's turning around to look behind him, she just disappears out of the door.
Maybe it's a memory lapse, but I don't remember that at all. I'm going to have
yeah.
to watch it again just based on that.
I can't even honestly, the Blu-ray looks different.
It's another one of those things you kind of got to look for.
You gotta
Like,
look
it's not
for,
just
yeah.
totally apparent she's there, but she's there.
I just
totally
happened
there.
I happened to see it because there was a dark corner, and I was like, oh, it's probably something up in there. And then there was. I was like, oh.
I did seriously.
Like,
I
no.
grabbed. I was like, I gotta grab. I'm about to
I
grab
gotta go
out
and
of
watch
here.
it tonight now.
I was
My balls
ready.
are shriveling up as we
Yeah,
talk about this.
seriously,
So,
that
okay.
scene-
What's
that
interesting
scene,
is
man.
this
Oh.
movie has not. It doesn't really have like jump scares per
No.
se.
No.
Like it's just like literally
really,
just
really creepy.
ramped up tension until like the very end.
Mhm.
Like the whole movie's like really like anxiety inducing and
No,
like,
it's
uncomfortable.
No, you're
very.
tense. I
Yeah.
felt very tense. Anxiety, because I have those issues for real.
Yeah,
So that's
right?
why it's hard to watch movies like this.
Me
It's
too,
hard to
really.
get through them because my anxiety just goes through the roof. We get to the as I was saying though, and thanks. I'm glad you pointed that out because now, yeah, you just cost me another 2 hours tonight. Good job.
Just go to that scene, man.
No, I'm gonna watch. No,
And then it's right before that scene when he wakes up is where they show the house, and you can see there's like 50 people standing outside, all painted white and naked.
Fuck, man.
I didn't notice it until
Dawn just said her
last night.
ovaries shriveled.
Yeah, dude, for real.
Dude, I didn't pick up on this stuff. I
Oh my
gotta
God,
watch
we
it
didn't
again.
even we didn't even talk about the
The movie's very
The
good
dream.
at making you look where other spots where
Yeah.
not, like the guy that the cinematographer. I don't know who the DP is on this. I can look it up, but
Yeah.
like whoever blocked this movie off is like so fucking smart. Like it blows my mind the way he wants you to look at something and
Right.
and he like anticipates how people watch movies.
Mhm.
Like you wouldn't. Like I just happened to be looking in the corner because I watch a lot of horror movies. And I was like, there's probably some shit up in there. But like 9 out of 10 people were
Did not
looking at
even
because he's
notice that.
doing shit at the
yeah,
bottom.
because he's just looking all crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, it's like art. You typically have like your focal point.
Yeah.
Not like you look at a painting, you're looking at the bright spot. You're
Yeah.
looking at the circle. You have
Yeah.
that one central thing you look at. Usually in a movie, you're looking at who's talking.
Mhm.
Right.
In this movie, like
It's-
the apparitions and stuff appearing, like are they there? Are they not there? I'm supposed to be looking at this person that's talking,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but there's stuff going on behind that wall.
Well, okay.
you know?
So there's something else I have to watch now too.
and the dream sequence
Yeah.
when she's like, I never wanted to be your mother, and then
dude.
out of nowhere he's all wet. He's like, why are you afraid of me? And she's like, I'm not. And she's all covered in fucking gasoline. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Dude, this movie sets me like on edge for real. Like I'm seriously, I'm not even joking. I'm clammy thinking about talking about it. Like I can't. This movie has.
No, I know.
messed me up.
Well, there's
I
nothing
agree.
worse than not being able to trust your own family.
Oh god.
You know,
Yeah.
like she's who he wants to turn to for comfort, and he can't because she's fucking
Yeah.
crazy, and everybody around him's crazy, and nothing makes sense to him. I mean, like, there's like this really interesting part where he smokes weed and he has a panic attack, and that's like a really
Oh, yeah, his
realistic
chest got
depiction of
tight.
one too.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're right.
Like they did a really good job of depicting that, and it's just like you really feel for Peter, and he's like, so, like, the part that really gets me is when they're having a seance and he like literally starts crying like a little kid.
Yeah.
Well, he
so
was crying like
He's
that.
so scared.
He was
so
scared to death.
That
His
and-
father was trying to, he's, Steven's trying to hold him and calm him down. It's
Yeah.
end
That's
this now. Stop
realistically
this.
how people
Yeah.
are. They regress and shit when you're like really scared. You like you ever hear about, they do it in war movies where they're like people are dying, they're asking for their mommy and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, people
Right.
regress when you're scared or dying or something. I think that's
super traumatic.
Well,
like that.
Peter's character, going along this line, especially the seance where he really just wells up. But there is that scene you were talking about, the dreams in the bedroom where, where he's getting pulled through the back of the bed,
Yeah.
and he wakes up and his, what are you doing, Peter? And she's like,
Yeah.
what are you, Mom, you were trying to pull up my head. And it's one of
Yeah.
those, I was kind of like,
Yeah.
just a little bit. I couldn't. Well, you're trying to pull off my head. But he was crying like a little baby.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
he was also her first child, and she knew what was going to happen if she had a son,
Yeah.
and she tried to stop it. So that he's probably got some issues, like development.
Well,
issues,
in the dream, she said, clearly, like, I did everything they said not to do,
Yeah,
and you didn't die.
I think that. I mean, it was a dream, but I think that's true.
Oh, it's
Because
totally true.
because she knew, and that's why her family and her were estranged.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
she was. I'm sure she was definitely afraid of having children because of the DID and all. Everything
Yeah.
that is hereditary.
Well, the
Like,
entire movie, her job is she's an artist that works in miniature,
Mhm.
which is an interesting kind of like thematically, because the entire film she's trying to have control over the situation, and the only way that she has any control is when she's
When
working with
she's
the miniature,
painting,
and
yeah.
the whole family is represented in miniature
Oh, yeah.
as well, and you always
The
see her.
fucking accident scene.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's because I think it's an interesting way of what's the word, distancing yourself from the situation by making it small, and now she's big and now she controls it, and it's a way for her to be objectively looking at it, like the entire time she's kind of cutting herself off emotionally from what's going on,
Mhm.
and regressing and hiding with her miniatures,
Yeah.
and then Steve comes in all pissed at her and is like, what the fuck, man, why are you with these miniatures? You need to be with us.
yeah.
You're not with us, you're with these fake.
Well, I mean,
Fake us.
the accident scene I said in particular, that's another thing why I love the performance. Is because he walks in there and she's got this whole thing laid out,
Yeah.
the little head and everything. And he's like, and literally he just looks at her and Jesus Christ, Annie.
Yeah.
Like, he's trying to keep his wits about him,
Yeah.
but he just kind of goes outside of that zone. Because I would respond, Jesus Christ, what are you doing?
Right. She's like, what? Perfectly normal. It's
I'm
a
just trying to get a
neutral-
perspective.
Right.
It's,
It's just a neutral.
She said it. She did say. Oh, I forgot what she said.
She said it's a neutral version.
It's a neutral
Yeah.
version. Is that what she
of the
said?
accident. Yeah.
But no, the
A
third.
neutral viewpoint.
Oh, there
Yeah.
you go. Thank you. Viewpoint.
So the third act, though, we were talking about. Yeah, when Peter looks down on his father's burnt corpse, and that shot was so frigging awesome because he's walking up like you're in the perspective of this burnt corpse now, looking up
Yeah.
with your burned eyes. I don't know. And he just walks up, and you already see Annie in the ceiling,
corner, yeah.
in the corner. You could not miss that.
Oh, that's for sure.
And I'm just, you talk about anxiety shooting through the roof. I remember in the theater seeing that with Amber. I mean, I literally,
Yeah.
Amber's hands here, and I'm like, and she's like, get your fucking hand up. I'm like,
Relax.
I mean, I was that
I was
freaked out,
doing that the
right?
whole time too. I was like,
Now, what made this thing so surreal to me, though, and I mean that word so directly in this thing, is he turns and there is, and now I'm understanding this. I mean, I knew the cult was there,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But there's just this naked dude standing in the doorway,
I was like, ugh.
And he's smiling.
and he's smiling.
And
I'm
it's
like,
the dude at the funeral who smiles at Charlie.
now, okay, that's the same dude.
It's the same dude.
Now, okay, let's step back because I want to step back to the funeral for a couple seconds. There was, that's one of the things that said. This is like, I know we're jumping way back here at the beginning, but
Well, that's all right.
one of the things that said is by Annie when she gives her speech is exactly that. She says, "I see a lot of unfamiliar faces here,"
Mm-hmm.
and literally the majority of the speech we see her say, delivering is how private her mother was, her private rituals,
Uh-huh.
her private everything. And it just kind of goes back to what we're saying. I mean, I noticed those little cues. People were coming by. Somebody rubbed oil on her mouth.
Mhm.
We see that one guy right there going.
Yeah, all creepily. I
Yeah.
think that's actually, I can't remember where I
was
read
some-
it, but it was something for her soul to either pass on or to stay there until the ritual was complete. I think
Okay.
that's what that was. I
Yeah.
can't remember where probably in the extras because I'm a nerd alert, so.
I didn't write down the actual. We see different names, terms, words through
Yeah.
the movie on the
I
walls.
believe that's for
those were
invoking the spirit.
spells.
Yeah, they're
They were
invoking the
spells.
spirit.
I forgot that Satany was one of them, I think, or something like that. Could be
Yeah,
wrong.
Satany, Liftoch, something.
Yeah.
And there was like a Zaba.
Zaba.
Like in Latin or something? Can you translate them? Or
I
are they
have
just
no
made up
idea.
words?
No, I don't think they're.
They were spells, basically.
They're from the Payman book of
Hail
whatever.
Payman.
Yeah,
Hail
Payman.
Payman.
Yeah.
Damn.
It
Hail
makes you,
payment.
like, really sad. Like, it's really tragic when you, especially Peter, like, he gets put through the
He
ringer.
didn't ask for this.
I mean, and he felt all that guilt from her death, and it wasn't even his fault. It was
No.
like it was orchestrated. So, like,
Yeah.
he was tearing himself up over all this stuff that wasn't even his fault.
Yeah.
But
And
all
he
of
couldn't
that
control
stuff,
anything that was going on, and everything just is out of his control,
God.
and it's
Yeah.
just it's a tragedy.
It's a tragedy.
It is pretty fucking sad.
The whole movie is a
It's
tragedy.
a
Yeah.
tragedy.
But it all goes back to the letter that Annie's mother wrote.
Sacrifice.
That our sacrifices pale, or no, our sacrifices pale in next to the rewards.
Yeah. So I mean, we play through this third act though. We see the naked dude, and which to me it just that fucked me up. That
Yeah, it was
that
really
shot of
uncomfortable.
this naked dude standing there smiling.
Yeah.
And I'm not
Yeah.
being funny. I mean, I was watching that again last night. I'm like, oh. And he's just like looking, going, "What the fuck, man? What's
Yeah,
going-"
like what the fuck?
And then Annie reveals herself,
Mm-hmm.
starts chasing him through the house. He ends up going up into the attic.
Yeah.
Which that's bad. Fuck that shot.
Oh,
She's the banging,
oh, dude,
the banging.
that's so awesome because in the trailer they show that in the trailer, and you think that she's just losing her mind or something, and she really does, but you have no idea that she's upside down on the ceiling.
Smashing
Yes.
her head
Yeah.
into the goddamn. Oh my god.
Yeah.
So
That
cool.
shot alone right there was worth it all, man. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, dude. And then she just, that's where things that got a little weird. That did get weird because next thing you know, he's up there going, okay, there's a fucking corpse. No, there wasn't. The corpse
It wasn't there. It was
wasn't
a
there.
picture of him with his eyes
It was a
gouged
big.
out.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
But then
uh,
there was people also upstairs.
Yeah, and there's his mom. You hear, and I got this thing. This is great.
I have this
So-
thing.
I'm just old and I don't hear well anymore. I'm decrepit. So I prefer to watch films with subtitles. Like,
Mhm.
all the subtitles now. Because there's words I don't understand. And I always
Damn, you old.
I am old. Amber hates it. But I do like to watch movies with subtitles.
I watched The Witch with subtitles
Well, yeah.
because
That
they
makes sense,
because they had old English.
Yeah.
So,
There's just certain words. Like, I think some performances, they're delivered. Sometimes words come out weird and I don't understand everything. So I like that. So when I was watching this scene, it's subtitle for the hearing impaired,
Oh,
basically.
yeah.
So it gives you all the descriptions too.
Right.
So the thing pops up, and I forgot all about this stuff as I hadn't seen the movie in a while. The thing comes up and it says, like gory sloshing or something. And I'm like, fuck. And then the camera cuts up to
To
Annie
Annie.
decapitating herself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Another
I'm like, oh, that makes
decapitation.
sense.
Yeah.
What's that?
It's another decapitation.
Yeah, well, there you go.
What is
Yeah.
she using? Like piano wire?
Like,
It's
a
piano
wire.
Yeah.
You know what? I was just
Cool.
thinking, Charlie in the beginning of the film, she spent a lot of her time cutting heads off of things and then reattaching them to different things.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So, like, it was kind of like, Hyman, like,
Hyman.
putting himself into different bodies. Like, she was really obsessed with reconstructing things that don't go together.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. that
Well, she was
interesting.
Pyman.
Yeah.
She was
So-
timing. Or
She was
payment.
ju-
Payment.
Payman,
It's payment.
sorry.
It's payment.
She was just waiting, Payman was just waiting for his turn. That's basically
So-
what it was.
this whole thing culminates now. I mean, he shits his pants out as soon as he sees that, and I don't know anybody in this room who probably wouldn't have ran out that window either.
No, I would
have been freaking out too.
Yeah.
I was
just
just
come
like,
out.
fuck it, I'm
Yep.
out.
Yeah.
Peace.
I'm done with all this.
Bye,
And then
mommy.
we see the spirit of Payman finally enter him once and for all. I guess that's
Well, it was Charlie.
okay. Charlie,
Anderson.
but Charlie is Payman.
Right. Well, I know.
I
but
think Charlie is just a kid and Payman's inside of her, and when I don't
he's
think
finally
Charlie
released.
is like a thing. Like
I think so.
Payman's a thing, but
I don't
No,
think. I
I
think
think-
Charlie was
well-
just simply a vessel.
yeah, Charlie was
Yeah,
just a
but
vessel.
that's all I mean. But like Charlie enters him.
Well, Payman does. Charlie's dead.
Charlie's dead.
Well, I know, but they call him Charlie at the end of the movie.
They do.
Yes. They go, oh, Joan goes, oh, Charlie, it's
Yeah.
okay.
Oh fuck me!
You're finally here now. You know?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's Charlie who is actually Pyman. And I don't know. That's why
It's
I
like
was
satanic inception.
seriously.
What's going on?
Yeah.
That's why I got confused again because I mean I was like, well, all right. So, but then
No, you're right. No, you're 100%
it makes
right.
sense though because when you read that paragraph in that book, it talks about Pyman. If Pyman's is
Payman, God damn it!
whatever, same shit. All right. I'm from Michigan.
Stop
so-
arguing,
so
children.
it's Pyman, all right. It's
Payman.
what's it called? What are those called? Mud pie? No. Pasties.
Pasties?
I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna say
say-
like real
Pasties.
Michigan.
I'm gonna call them
Pasties.
pasty from now on. just-
Okay, all right.
All right. So,
Okay.
anyways, in that paragraph, it goes through a description of what the female body looks like, and it's deformed and unusual. So that's where Charlie is.
So I have to watch this like
Oh,
40 more
Liam,
times.
Liam. Oh,
I
God.
have to watch
What'd
this
you
like
say?
40 more times, man. Really, I do.
Hyman sounds so close to Hyman.
Which none of us have.
So we end
Speak
up,
for yourself.
but we end up.
Yeah. I went in my pee hole.
I had hymen reconstruction surgery, so
So.
You needed it, though.
yeah, it was a big gaping hole.
Oh. When Michelle walked, it was just like,
Your face got so
It's like,
Where?
it's hereditary.
it's hereditary.
Oh God, no!
Thanks
So-
a lot, Liam.
Good job,
Dick.
Liam.
Thanks, Liam.
So we end up back in the treehouse, though.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And they're all praying to Charlie's
You know what?
fucking
The
head.
And you know
treehouse
what?
of
I-
hell.
I didn't even notice that.
It was
last
Charlie's
night.
head, yeah.
I read that today. Like it's Charlie's head. I'm like,
Yeah, man.
I'm telling you, there is so much shit
There-
going on in the
yeah.
background of this movie. Like,
Yeah.
you need to watch. Like everybody that's listening to this podcast, if you've only seen it once, watch it again and just look at shit in the background.
Mhm.
Like, there's just so much.
I'm gonna
stuff.
go. I mean this. I'm going because I've rented this Blu-ray for a few days. I might as well utilize that. I'm gonna watch it again tonight. I'm gonna have to. I have to sit down and just meditate on this thing again, because there's so much that you guys have pointed out that I thought I got it all, but there's like a pile of shit that I
Dude,
just.
I still haven't gotten all of it.
It's
either.
literally
It's
two movies
so-
in one almost.
Yeah.
Like, I honestly feel like when you watch it the first time, when you watch it the second time, it's two completely different experiences, which is cool. Like, a lot of movies don't
Yeah.
offer that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know,
No, I mean, so I guess we all dug this movie a bit. We thought it was
A
pretty
bit.
cool. Thought it was
I'm
all
on the
right.
fence whether Annihilation or this was my favorite of the year.
Well, Annihilation was like last year, though. I thought.
It was the early 2018, I thought.
I think it came out like February or something.
Yeah, February, right before
It
Black
was.
Panther.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what?
Yeah.
You're 100%
Yeah.
right. It was originally done in 2016. They shelved it for a
Yeah.
while. That's what I was
Yeah.
thinking. I'm
Yep.
sorry about that.
But it came
Um,
out in February.
Annihilation.
before
That's a
Black
tough
Panther.
call, man. Because Annihilation.
Annihilation got, well, you know.
It's the same. You know, I've said that before here. I do the same. And you know what? I'm gonna have to buy a copy. That's what will end up happening. I'll buy a copy of Hereditary also, and I'll sit down and I'll just freaking digest, and that's what I've done with Annihilation. And I can sit there and riff on that because I've just watched every nook and cranny. I've
Yeah,
looked at
same
every
here, man.
corner of those
Yeah.
shots, and I'll probably end up doing the same thing because even after this conversation we've had, there's so many little nuances that I missed, and there's a reason for that. And I want to understand that and explore
Mhm.
that. I did the same thing with Annihilation.
Yeah, man,
right.
dude, Annihilation had me. Like
Yeah.
I said, from like the first like 10 seconds of that movie, I was just like,
Yeah.
It's weird because, this is happening with Hereditary and some other horror movies, Halloween. Like, we're actually getting like great horror movies again.
yeah, I
It's
really
funny
enjoyed
because
it.
like back in like 2014, 2015, we got like The Taking of Deborah Logan
Yeah.
and a bunch of
Mhm.
really good stuff.
Fantastic.
And it seemed like it died off again. a little
I
bit.
think horror goes through like cycles. Seems
Yeah.
like.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, this is a different kind of, as I said earlier, I mean, I'll agree that this is, I guess you can put this in the horror classification,
Yeah.
but this is, to me, is much more than that.
What's like I call it the A24 horror.
Yeah.
Where-
Yes,
That's
yes.
awesome.
I know A24
Good job,
doesn't
Michelle,
make
that's
these
great.
movies. They just, they just give money to they release them. I'm sorry. They're the releasing studio for the movies. They
Yeah.
don't make them. So it's not like A24 is like this entity, like they make movies. They just release them. But like all the movies they pick, they curate films.
Mm-hmm.
All the movies they pick in the horror genre like have that kind of feel to them where they're
Mhm.
not traditional horror.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I find interesting the A24 horror movies.
A24 did produce this one.
Well, I mean, they produce them, but they don't
Yeah.
make them. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like they don't. It's. I don't know. I'm trying to say
They like you said, they buy them
Yeah, they
and
buy
then
them and
they
release them.
distribute them.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's a distributor. But the ones they pick, they're all interesting takes on horror. Like they, It Follows, right? That was A24.
What's that?
It Follows.
It Follows.
I believe so.
I'm pretty sure that
I
was
love It
A24.
Follows.
Then you have It Comes at Night.
Yeah, I was gonna say Comes at
Um,
Night was really interesting.
You know,
It was.
I never
It was
saw that.
very,
The
very
Witch.
interesting.
That was A24.
Yeah, The
too,
Witch
right?
is A24 as well.
So
Well,
like, they
so
have
these are eclectic films.
Yeah,
they are.
but
Very
they all-
eclectic.
they're just all very different
Unique.
takes on horror.
Yeah.
And I find a lot of horror community to be kind of narrow-minded in what they classify horror as.
Yeah.
Like it has to be this really specific like way to make a movie, and it has to be like a slasher or anything. Or like these kind of movies, they take influences from a lot of non-horror films and incorporate them into the horror template, I guess you could
Well,
say.
they're so realistic.
Yeah.
You know? Like, what is more scary that, like in Scream 3, Sydney asks the detective on the case, she goes, "Hey, Detective Kincaid, what's your favorite scary movie?" And he goes, "My life." Like, that is literally what you should probably answer, because what is
Well-
more scary than
Well, because
real
life is
life horror-
horrifying,
Well,
and we watch
exactly.
horror movies as a form of escapism,
right?
and that's why I really like these textured horror films, like
Right.
Hereditary. Dawn just mentioned Under the Skin.
Yeah,
Kinda
that's
fit-
another one.
Fuck.
They're
I
very
still haven't seen that.
I could talk about that movie for we could do like a 6-hour
Yeah.
multi-chapter podcast on that movie.
But
Well, I mean,
Ari
look,
Aster did that Criterion thing where they go into the Criterion and they pick their favorite movies from that they made, and he picked a lot of art house films, a lot of Polanski, which you can definitely feel
that makes a lot of
Polanski
sense.
influence, especially Rosemary's Baby, which is another movie where everything's being orchestrated behind the scenes
Yeah.
and the
Mhm.
protagonist doesn't know, and she thinks and then
She
you find
thinks
out the
she's
end
straight
that
up losing her shit.
yeah, she thinks she's losing her mind when in actuality shit is really happening.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not her just
Yeah.
imagining things. And then you could feel that influence, in this film. It's like,
Oh, yeah, for
a lot
sure.
of different genres.
I was saying
mixed
that this
in.
is like the new generation's Rosemary's
Yeah.
Baby. It's not like the same context really,
Yeah.
Ernie, but it has the look and the feel,
Mhm.
like you were saying.
The
you know?
methodical
Yeah.
kind of setup.
well, not to get too philosophical, but really, when these ideas we're talking about, what is horror?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I guess if there's anything I'm taking away from Hereditary is that question, like, what really is horror,
Yeah.
right? It's
and
very
there's several
easy.
versions of it in this movie.
Yeah, oh yeah.
There's
It's really
quite
easy
a
to
few
define
different
horror, like
versions.
Michelle said. Slasher. We got
Well,
blood,
it
guts,
could be
all
like
this shit.
psychological horror.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. There's
all
Yeah.
kinds.
I
This
mean-
movie's got a big ribbon on it that says horror.
Yeah, I mean, I think people have locked themselves into this idea of what a horror film is. Lots of
Mhm.
blood, monsters, all kinds
Yeah.
of shit. And this movie, to me, Hereditary, takes this to a whole new level. I mean, Annihilation, we were saying that too. I mean, they're considering that as, a horror type film.
Yeah.
And that there are, I think, pound for pound, Annihilation probably has a bit more horror elements than Hereditary does,
Yeah, then Annihilation.
given the story,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, sure.
But to me, that's another one of those game changers too. That's why I love that movie so much, because there's just something else going on there.
Mhm.
It's a more eclectic type film. It's a thinking person's film.
Well,
There's-
apparently the director Aster didn't want to make a horror movie at first.
Yeah.
And they said it would be you'd be able to get money easier if you made a horror movie. So he took like the way he makes movies and
Yeah.
like fit it into the horror genre. So like he took all like this art house sensibility and
Yeah.
then made a horror movie with it. And I think people don't. I think that sometimes it puts people off, I guess, when a movie doesn't reveal all its parts to you immediately when you watch the first time. And if people don't understand stuff, they get mad at the movie. But
I just want to learn more. I want to get more into it. I
So those
appreciate
kind of
it.
movies make me super want to look shit up and look all the
Yeah.
things up and
Yeah.
try to
Well,
figure
see,
it out. But
it's
some people
cool
don't like
because
that,
when
They
I was
don't-
talking to people about Hereditary after I saw it the first time in the theater, like all of my buddies were like, "Oh, did you look up who Payman was?" And I was like, "Well, no, but now I'm going to." And I did. I looked it all up, and I didn't go too deep or anything like that because I still wanted that element of
Right.
mystery and surprise and
Yeah.
stuff. But
the
like,
director of the movie obviously looked it up, so it's
Oh,
not,
yeah, of
I don't know
course.
why somebody would feel like
Yeah.
it's bad to have to look things up after the movie.
Or-
Like, oh my God, somebody's
maybe it's
making
because they
references.
feel stupid or something.
Well,
Like,
really,
I don't-
really good
people are
art
really
makes you
insecure
want to
in general,
explore
so
more, though. I
whatever.
thought. Example. Growing up listening to the music that I listened to, a lot of the better words that I think I say now in my vocabulary were because I heard a Slayer record or something. Honestly,
Yeah.
because I'd read the lyric sheet and go, "What the fuck does Therion mean?"
Yeah.
Well, that's
You know,
the great thing
I'm
about
gonna look that up. That's cool.
about films or just art in general is all arts are connected in some way. So if you're a music fan, oftentimes you'll end up reading books and learning about other things that aren't about music because
Yeah.
music people
They
that write
found-
songs.
Right, they wrote a
read
song
books.
about
They're
it. Yeah.
researching, right?
Right.
Right.
But Hereditary made me want to look up Payman.
Yeah,
Who the hell's
same
who's
here.
this Payman guy?
Right.
So I think great art will push you if you want to play the game.
Yeah.
You have to want
Right.
to play the game. If
Right.
you just want,
Of
and there's
course.
nothing wrong with being a viewer or someone who just wants to. Okay, so there's some crazy asshole running a house stabbing people. Okay,
Sure.
so that's and we're gonna get to a point where someone's gonna outsmart him and he's gonna fall off a ledge somewhere, and that's the movie. Fine, that's great. But if you really want to play, sometimes you're going to be challenged and you're going to have to do more than that.
Mhm.
And, again, if it's not your thing, don't do it. That's
Yeah.
perfectly fine. But I like to go and spend time researching after, what the hell is that supposed to mean?
Right.
You know?
Right.
I'm not that smart. I want to learn.
Yeah,
I want to
sure.
understand.
Well, that's
this
how
is one of those
anybody
reasons-
learns anything. It's like
Right.
you get exposed to something you haven't heard of before, and you go look it up.
Yeah, you got no
And we
damn
have
excuse
these-
nowadays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
You have
gonna
no
say, we have
excuse.
these amazing things.
Yeah.
These little
You have no
rectangular
excuse today.
things.
Yeah, I remember back in the day when you had to go to the fucking
Well,
library.
yeah, you had to go to the
Library.
library, get an encyclopedia, and look that shit up.
Yeah, So but that's just a matter of, I think, what people
Preference.
want out of it,
Yeah.
out of their entertainment. Some people just do want to be entertained. They want an element of escapism, and they don't want to have to work. Yeah, there you go. So this movie rules.
Yeah, this movie is. It seriously.
Go on all
like
night
I
about
can't.
how awesome it is.
I can't even. I'm almost speechless as to how much I absolutely just adore this movie and the impact it had on me.
Yeah,
I'm not sure why I still don't even know. That's what's so like, because I don't know what it is about Hereditary that has made me watch it 3 times.
well, it's captivating.
Well, I think there's a few things
Captivating.
going on with this movie. Number one, we're all very passionate about movies. We all see a lot of movies. We all like a variance in movies, and I think this movie kind of
Throws it all together.
it took a lot of the different things that we all
Yeah.
love and put it into one thing.
Yeah,
Correct.
One little pumpkin pie.
Yeah.
no, it's
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it was truly captivating.
Oh, it really is.
Especially the third act to me. I felt like I mean that I felt like I was somewhere else.
Oh yeah,
It took
for
me
sure.
somewhere else, and
And,
that's
you know,
hard to do.
And that's also another passion of yours. The whole spirit world and everything like that. So like.
Yeah,
It's
oh
just-
yeah.
it's just
This
a
is an
different-
interesting film just based on the on the nerd stuff
It's
like
totally
that.
a different
Totally.
section of it, but yeah, I think that might also be why I was extremely taken
It's
by it as
fantastic,
well.
yeah,
Because
fantastic
from a
story.
supernatural aspect, this movie is just man.
What I loved about it though, the supernatural aspect you just referred to, is that even that was played a different way.
Right, exactly.
It actually was not. It was actually, I think its lack of subtlety is what made it so cool, because you just see these little balls of light, which maybe I've seen these before, but it's just how they looked, and they made no sound.
Mm-hmm.
Like other movies, I've seen that type of idea. It's like
Yeah.
whoosh,
Right,
you know, or angels, harp playing or whatever. This was just a simple little blip. It was so fast, you may have missed it the first time you saw the movie if you've seen it already.
I think this is going to be one of those movies that in time, this is going to be like The Shining or
Ooh,
it's that good.
I hope
It really
so.
is that
or
good.
one of those
Or
films that.
Rosemary's Baby, because
or
Rosemary's
Rosemary's
Baby is still top notch in my opinion.
Oh, it's a great film.
It's
a great film.
It's fantastic. It
Yeah.
also gives me that super
It's just your
surreal-
anxiety, man.
Yeah, that pit,
And I can't say I really enjoy that
No, I
personally.
don't.
It does.
but-
It's why there's some stuff I don't want to watch because I don't want to deal with the anxiety. And this movie made me anxious as fuck last night when I was watching it.
Yeah.
Same
And now I'm gonna
here.
go home and put myself through this torture again. Thanks, guys.
Just look
Same
in that
thing,
corner.
Like when Charlie, same exact. This is the third time that I've seen it. When Charlie dies, and the same thing happened. I was like,
I was just grunting last night, like on the Amber. I'm like, "Ugh." And it was like,
Oh,
what are you
yeah.
doing out on the couch?
when they showed her the next day, her head, and it's got the ants. I was like, oh, like,
It's revolting. It's
yeah, it's
revolting.
like the same reaction I had when I saw it the second time. Man, this movie is just too good.
Happy 100, guys.
Yeah,
Happy 100. I'm
Good
gonna,
way to celebrate it too.
yeah, we'll be back next
Fun talk.
week with another episode for Halloween. I'm gonna stop this and we can talk about that for a minute and see what we want to do next week.
Fuck y'all.
Yeah.
Peace. Welcome back,
Bye.
peaches.
So we are still live.
Yeah.
Hey.
So
No,
I'm thinking next week we should probably do Halloween.
what,
Like the first
Halloween
like the
movies.
franchise?
The movies, yeah.
Oh,
Can
movies.
okay.
will you be able to see the new one before next Tuesday?
It's gonna be tough because I'm gonna be in Florida this weekend.
Okay.
I'll try to pull it off.
Okay.
I'll do the best I can if I can get some time. Coming from here after tonight, I'm gonna be just going full speed through Sunday. So I
Yeah.
may be able to pull it off Monday night.
Okay.
Let me see what I can do. I'll plan. Let me look at this.
So we're
Fuck the
thinking
hammer.
about next week, guys, doing
Next
the
Tuesday.
Halloween series. So I'm
Yeah.
not sure who will be here for
I'm not
that.
a huge fan of Halloween. So
Okay.
if you want like a disgruntled person in the back, maybe.
Well, I know Trevor will
Fuck
be
that
anxious to
shit.
talk about this one.
Yeah. Well, he likes the first one.
No, I'm saying no. She was
Yeah.
saying
I'm sorry. I
Yeah.
don't like the movie. I mean,
No, it's okay.
It's okay.
my name's Heather and fuck Halloween.
Yeah, and I get it. I'm just not a huge fan of Mike Myers, I guess. I don't know.
They're hard to get into, some of
I
them.
mean, I understand the appeal and all of those things, but I don't know, man. There's just something about it that I'm just bored out of my mind.
Well, let me see. As
You
far
know?
as I'm going to make my best effort. I'm going to be going full speed.
That's cool.
Tonight. It's going to be completely nuts.
So potentially the Halloween series next week. If you guys have any other ideas that you'd like to see us cover in the coming
oh, yeah,
weeks,
cool. That's right. We're
comment
live.
right here. Let us know. I highly doubt anybody will comment because most people hate us. But oh, look, guys, they're holding hands finally. They get along. They love each other. So potentially Halloween next week. We will see. But again, leave a comment. Let us
Yeah.
know what other shows you'd like to see us do. And
Sure, yeah, we're open for interpretation.
yes,
Bye, Facebook Live.
Scott's done. All right, guys. Thanks for watching.
Good night.
Thanks for listening. And thanks to your mom, too,
Oh, thanks,
All
Mom.
night
because she
long.
gave birth to you.
Oh, thanks,
Bye-bye.
Mom.
All night
It's all
long.
hereditary.
Thanks, Mom.
No, yeah.